Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Matthew.
Episode 327, recorded for October 21st, 2025. AWS finally admits Kubernetes is hard, makes robots do it instead. Good evening, Matt and Ryan. How you guys doing?
doing good.
Good. How are you?
Yes, it's been an interesting week in the cloud as Amazon was on fire yesterday.
Yeah,
As the entire internet was down. At least it felt like the whole internet was down, except for me because I was on GCP. So,
And I was on Azure for once. That was good.
Small victories.
Yeah.
Does it
always
make
fun.
the rest of the year worth it? Probably not, but at least we get this one.
For 18 hours, 16 hours or so, it was good times.
We definitely will talk about that today, but let's hit some follow-up first, and then we'll get into the fun of Amazon's Hug Ops scenario yesterday. First of all, last week, Ryan and I talked about the Glacier deprecation, or actually a bunch of deprecations that Amazon had announced. And then right after we recorded the show, the next morning, I got an email clarifying something about Glacier. So we were a little bit surprised Glacier was in there, and we had talked a little bit about potentially this is just the Glacier service standalone, and that's the email basically confirmed. Standalone Amazon Glacier service will stop accepting new customers as of December 15th. But the S3 Glacier storage class, which includes instant retrieval, flexible retrieval, deep archive, are completely unaffected and continue normally and are basically part of the S3 service as a whole at this point. Existing Glacier customers can use it forever, apparently. There is no forced migration required, at least not announced yet. I mean, forever is only until the next press release. And basically, Amazon's essentially consolidating around S3 as a unified storage platform, and standalone service will be here and getting no bug fixes. So yeah, enjoy. You will actually potentially get some cost savings if you move to the S3 Glacier service. It is slightly cheaper than the Glacier standalone service. I was looking at some of the pricing charts, and so then that may be Email Synology, who I use to back up. I use Glacier to back up my Synology in my house, and I'm like, hey, are you gonna do something about this? And they're like, we'll get back to you.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, well, that's good. That's a good sign. But yeah, so there you go, Ryan. Clarification and kind of what we assumed, but I just thought we should officially say that's what they said.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. General news, F5 disclosed that nation-state hackers maintained persistent access to their internal systems over the summer of 2024, stealing portions of the Big IP source code and vulnerability details before containment in August. The breach compromised product development and engineering systems, but did not affect customer CRM data, financial systems, or F5 software supply chain, according to independent security audits. F5 has released security patches for Big IP, F5 OS, and Big IP Next products, and is providing threat hunting guides to help customers monitor for suspicious activity. This represents the first publicly disclosed breach of F5's internal systems, notable given that F5 handles traffic for 80% of the Fortune Global 500 companies through their load balancing and security services. This incident will highlight your supply chain security concerns as attackers target source code and vulnerability information rather than customer data, potentially looking for ways to break into your F5 product. So a little concerning on this one, mostly because F5 is everywhere, and as well as they own Nginx and a couple other things. And if they're in F5, a company who has a lot of money for security in their source code, make sure you're also protecting your source code and your companies as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that scares me the most is the persistent access over, a summer, which says to me like months. That's kind of spooky to me. And like, why wasn't that detected? And that's a long time to mess around inside the development environment. And, how are they verifying that nothing was sort of breached or inserted into the CI/CD pipelines?
I mean, it also is, this is from 2024 that this happened. So they're announcing it over a year later, which also feels kind of scary.
I mean, especially if they detected it right now.
And so in the article, it does talk about that they were asked by U.S. entities not to disclose until now because of the risk to their business. So they were asked by Department of Justice to do that.
Okay. Well, that's understandable.
Oh, I read that wrong when I read the article. Got it.
Yeah.
I read that the Department of Justice was asking them to disclose it now. I must have inverted it in my head.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
They now are allowed to announce it. They were not allowed to announce it last year when they confirmed it. So definitely very concerning for sure. All right. AI is how ML makes money this week. Claude Code finally gets a web version. Yay. But it's the new sandboxing feature that really matters, says Ars Technica. The web and mobile interfaces for Cloud Code, the CLI-based AI coding assistant with a web version supporting direct GitHub repository access and the ability to process general instructions like add real-time inventory tracking to the dashboard. The web interface introduces multi-session support, allowing developers to run and switch between multiple coding sessions simultaneously through a left side panel, plus the ability to provide mid-task corrections without canceling and restarting. A new sandbox runtime has been implemented to improve security and reduce friction, moving away from the previous approach where Cloud Code required permissions for most changes and steps during execution. The mobile version is currently limited to iOS and is in an earlier development stage compared to the web interface, indicating a phased rollout approach. Positions Cloud Code as a more accessible alternative to traditional CLI-only AI coding tools, and I'm looking forward to playing with this, although I've been busy this week dealing with other things. So hopefully by next week, I'll get to play with this.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play with the web version, but I am interested in it just because it is. I found the terminal interface like limiting, but I also feel like a lot of the value is in that local sort of execution and not in the sandbox, because that's a lot of the tasks I do are internal and require, access to either like company resources or private networks or that kind of thing, where you're not going to get that from publicly hosted sandbox environment.
Yeah, I was going to say, I find it useful also, like everything I do, I always say, okay, build it in a Docker container so I know that it will run elsewhere too. So once you move it up to somewhere else, I don't know, and I haven't played with it that much. I did open it up coincidentally by accident because I didn't realize it was new, where they like, I just don't think you can do that whole containerized workflow process.
I mean, it seems like it's still interfacing with your code repository, and therefore it could be part of your CI/CD pipelines that build containers. Just not.
Yeah,
locally.
but if I'm testing something locally, like if I'm building a web app or something like that, which is what I've been on a roll with recently.
I mean, a lot of people are moving away from local development anyway, so they need on server or they need other things. So maybe this solves those issues. But there's also been times where I've been, because I use Cloud Code quite a bit, and sometimes, someone will call me and be like, hey, this is broken. And I'm like, or like you guys tell me, Bolt's not doing something right. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm not anywhere near my laptop where I know exactly what I could fix with Claude. And you guys would just write the code yourselves, but it's a little different conversation. But I could just hop into the web interface potentially and do a quick Bolt fix if I needed to for our show note bot, for example.
Yeah, no, that is, I mean, that's a pretty powerful, sort of option for that, especially, like being able to like bug fix basically in public. You think about on call and that kind of certain things like that, where you're less are you in, working directly in this dev environment with all the special access and all the special tools, and you're just doing natural language sort of prompts to fix things.
I mean, it also makes it more accessible to, let's say a junior person or potentially someone in your support org. Hey, there's typos. We've typoed, the word developer in 27 places, and we have 3 tickets for it. Can a junior person or someone that doesn't really have full access do and handle it in this way versus having to handle local development of it?
Containerization Assist is automating the tedious process of creating Docker files and Kubernetes manifests, eliminating manual errors that plague developers during the containerization process. Built on AKS's draft-proven foundation, this open source tool goes beyond basic AI coding assistance by providing a complete containerization platform rather than just code suggestions. The tool is addressing a critical pain point where developers waste hours writing boilerplate container configurations and debugging deployment issues caused by manual mistakes. I mean, can I take a quick side note here? That's because you guys all chose Kubernetes. If you'd chosen a platform as a service, you wouldn't have had to do any of that. Yeah. That was a platform as a service supposed to do for us what all of you guys. No, Kubernetes is the future. We don't need any Lambda or anything else. Like, no. This is on your own. This is on you. This is on all of you.
Yeah.
As an open source MCP server integrates seamlessly with existing development workflows while leveraging Microsoft's containerization expertise from Azure Kubernetes Service. I mean, expertise is a stretch. The launch signals Microsoft's commitment to simplifying Kubernetes adoption by removing the steep learning curve associated with container orchestration and manifest creation. Or you could just use a pass.
Yeah, so enjoy your 17 nested layers of YAML documents.
The piece I did like about this is it integrated in as an optional feature, kind of the trivia and the security thing. So it's not just setting it up, but they integrated in, the full, or, not the full, but, the next steps of security code scanning. So it's not Microsoft saying, hey, it's standard, you don't get security at premium do, like, which this isn't a service, it's a, Git repository, but, they are building security in. So hopefully as things grow, this becomes more of a trend for Microsoft that you don't pay for security, but whatever, maybe it's just a pipe dream of mine.
I mean, Trivi's open source, so it's like they're setting it up for you, but it was already free.
Yeah, no, I know. But like,
I mean-
I guess it's more showing that they're thinking about it day one.
Yeah. No, and I do think it's cool. I do think having that sort of built into the pipeline by default is neat. Seeing that more and more. You see it directly on Docker Hub, for example, and it's just there's so many vulnerabilities in it. I didn't realize this coming from sort of an OS and server background. Like the vulnerability management to me is easy, so it's just rebuild the thing, figuring out which layer the vulnerability is in, like kind of came second nature. But I think if you don't come from that background, it sort of feels a little bit like black magic. And and having zero idea on how to remediate whatever vulnerability it is. So I do think that having this in there is better and hopefully educates.
I just tell Claude once a week to update all my versions and fix any bugs that it has.
Fix all bugs. Cron job.
Perfect.
See,
What can go wrong?
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I do like that. Looking at this repo, they actually have the other clouds are actually first-class citizens. There's actually, here's how to authenticate against EKS and GKE, and it's all actually in here. Where a lot of companies will say, "Oh, this is multi-cloud," and then you actually go look at it like, "Yeah, battery's not included for multi-cloud. Do it yourself."
Here's your one cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens to be ours.
It's nice that they're trying something, so that's nice. All right, moving on to clouds tools. Harness had a blog post that just mostly annoyed me, which is why we're talking about it. Basically, they said the title of this was "Infrastructure as Code is great, but have you heard of infrastructure as code management?" Infrastructure as code management, or IACM for short, is supposedly extends traditional infrastructure as code by adding lifecycle management capabilities, including state management, policy enforcement, and drift detection to handle the complexity of infrastructure at scale. Key features apparently include centralized state file management with version control, module and provider registries for usable components, and automated policy enforcement to assure compliance without slowing down teams. The platform integrates directly with your CI/CD workflow with visual PR insights showing cost estimates and infrastructure changes. And infrastructure as code management addresses critical pain points like config drift, secret exposure in state files, and resource conflicts with multiple teams working on the same infrastructure simultaneously. It also supports OpenTofu and Terraform with features like variable sets, workplace templates, and default pipelines. So let me boil this down for you. We created our own Terraform Enterprise or Terraform Cloud, but we can't use that name because it's copyrighted. So we're going to try to create a new thing and pretend we invented this and then try to sell it to you as our new Terraform or OpenTofu replacement for your management tier. Thanks for that, Harness. I appreciate it.
It was funny because I read this article and I got just as frustrated, and I was really worried that this was something that was put in because it was like supposedly like this really cool new thing. And I'm like, wait, no, this is just all how you're supposed to. This is what infrastructure as code has been forever. You just didn't manage it correctly now, so you're trying to invent a new thing to sell. I'm like, no, thank you.
Welcome to the sales and marketing team.
I mean, I'm sort of offended that you would have assumed that I would have thought this was a new thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
I wasn't calling out names. It's mostly blaming the AI bot now. So
I thought we were blaming Jonathan.
I did submit this article, so Jonathan's not here. You can blame him.
Yeah.
No, I mostly submitted this because I was super annoyed about it.
Yeah. No, it is. It's just super frustrating. These are all things that have existed, and there's been tools and ways to do this forever. Even without a dedicated platform, there's definitely ways to integrate all of these things into your CI/CD pipelines. But yeah, definitely things that you need to address. You do need drift detection. You do need to have state management in a way where multiple teams can interact with it, separately. And, having a place for reusable components and standards, but some of this is like decades old. Thanks, Harness.
Yeah. Well, Matt said that we had to create a new section today called Hug Ops Corner to hug our friendly ops fellows at Amazon who had a really bad day on Monday here this week, October 20th. So basically, for those of you who were not trying to use the internet on Monday, AWS East 1 experienced a major outage, which is what it's known for, starting with midnight Pacific on Monday, caused by DNS resolution issues with DynamoDB that prevented proper address lookup for database services, impacting thousands of applications, including Facebook, Snapchat, Coinbase, ChatGPT, and Amazon's own services. It's always DNS, number one. And then this isn't the official. We have not seen an official RCA, so this is speculative. But I think they basically said it was DNS in their status updates, but they haven't given us the root cause yet. So everything we're talking about is speculative today. But first of all, the amount of press that this outage has gotten is crazy to me.
Insane.
It's like everyone forgot about when US East 1 used to fall over like every other month, which
Yeah.
was like, I mean, I realize it's had a really long streak of not having those problems for a while, which is appreciated. But yeah, it's like, this isn't a new thing. US East 1 was called US Tire Fire 1 for a reason, for a long time by a lot of us. And we all always joked that, friends don't let friends start an Amazon project in US East 1 for this exact reason. So, it's a sort of interesting. Now, there's a couple of things that I would point out, and we linked to a bunch of articles. We won't go through all of them, but there were some things I noticed with this particular one. Number one, it took a long time for them to seem to get this thing on a positive direction. I happened to be awake because I couldn't sleep, and so I saw people starting to say, "Hey, Amazon's having a problem," and I kind of ignored it. I went to bed, and my page didn't go off, so it was a win-win. But it took a long time for them to resolve it. Basically until it was like hours before they had the DNS restored. Then they had all kinds of thundering herd problems and all kinds of the traditional issues you see with Amazon when they're trying to recover thousands of people's sites. And the one thing that kind of struck me was, well, is it because they're out of practice? Like US East 1 hasn't crapped out in a while, and so they lost some muscle memory, or is this really a byproduct of the fact that Amazon's talent retention has been terrible as of late, between layoffs they've been doing or forcing RTO, and all the amount of people who have left Amazon in the last few years. Like, is this a reflection of the reality that when you let smart people go, sometimes things don't end up as well as you'd like them to be? And is this kind of going to be the new norm where we're just not quite seeing the same level of caliber from AWS as we were used to in the past? And is this a wake up call in some ways to Amazon that maybe what you're doing isn't the right thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not one for heroes. And so like, I hope that it wasn't, the earlier resolutions weren't just because people were kind of throwing themselves on the tracks, getting these things resolved. But if it's a DNS resolution issue that's causing sort of a global outage, like that's not exactly straightforward. It's not just, a bug, or a function returning the wrong value, or that you're looking at global propagation. You're looking at all whole, clients in different places resolving different things, and some at the base parts of the internet for functionality. And so it does take a pretty experienced engineer to sort of have that in their heads conceptually in order to troubleshoot. So like I wonder if that's really the cause. It's where they're not able to recover as much. But I also feel like cloud computing has come a long way, and the impact was very widely felt because a lot more people are using AWS as their hosting provider than I think have been in the past. A little bit of everything, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a little bit of everything. I think it was interesting where they kind of made it sound like in the initial, cloud status that they were kind of thought they were good at one point, and then it kind of went south again on them because they were like, we're seeing recovery. Well, hold on, we're not. So it almost feels like there was multiple internal issues that kind of happened, and they fixed one, and and Thundering Herd and other issues kind of caused other services to fail over, other managed platforms internally to fail over. And I don't think, unless if you're under an NDA, so we probably won't talk about it, we'll get that level of detail publicly. But they kind of felt like multiple issues there that kind of caused the global problem. I think the larger scale issue is that they still run a lot of these core services out of US East 1, and so many of them are based there. Like IAM is still based there. CloudFront is based there. Can they, and I know some of them they can't, but can they start to figure out how to move those to other regions? So if a single region, aka US East 1, goes down, 37 things don't else go down that are global services because of that. And that's, I think, kind of the bigger issue. And, they've tried to mitigate it some with, was it over the summer or last year? My sense of time is skewed in life right now, where they recommended and they adjusted the default for DNS to resolve for IAM into each or was it IAM or STS into each region, and they still left the default one to point there. So like they're trying to slowly do that, but they're literally flying 17 jumbo jets, at once, trying to keep change the engines on it without landing. It's not like they can have a maintenance window of US East 1 and say, we're going to take us down for 2 hours. The world will revolt. So like, I think there's probably multiple issues under the hood, and I think that they are tracking in the right direction. But, this will probably help expedite some of the issues, just like when, was it 17 or 16 when S3 went down and took down the whole area again? So core services kind of have big impacts.
Yep. I mean, it'd be definitely interesting to see, if this is a beginning of a trend of a lack of stability in the Amazon ecosystem again. I mean, again, if you followed best cloud practices, you were multi-region, you designed for failure, you were not really that impacted by this. I mean, there definitely was things, logging to the console might have been problematic for you. But if you had servers running in other regions, traffic was routed there as it should, like, things work normally. And again, there's still a lot of companies who don't invest in DR or in getting outside of US East 1 in a serious way, and then they're beholden to these issues. I also say, welcome to October. We're a month and a few days and change away from reInvent. Things start getting rolled out at this time of year in the background. And so, there's a lot more things getting pushed out that are new or potentially have issues or bugs that could take down the control plane at Amazon. So, it'd be interesting to see if we see a trend in a negative direction, or is this just a fluke? And big things happen sometimes, and you deal with it and you recover, and they take lessons learned, and then everything goes back on like normal. Or is this really the beginning of a trend that won't be great? I don't. My feeling is Amazon has a lot of smart people still, even though they've let a lot go, or a lot of them have left. They have a lot of systems that help control and keep their systems working. I imagine their RCA will be hopefully enlightening and will tell us what happened and what they're doing to fix it, and we'll feel better about it. But we'll keep you posted as we wait to hear 100% from them what's going on. But just it's so funny how the media just jumped all over this one.
Really did.
Well, it was just such a widespread outage.
I mean, every US East 1 outage has been widespread. It's just that we haven't had one in a while.
Right.
And it was a slow news day, I guess, or they needed a distraction from, Trump's AI videos. Like, I don't know what was going on, but like it was every news media jumped on it. Because I had people pinging me like, hey, are you impacted by Amazon outage day? I'm like, how'd you know that? Like, oh, it was on the top of the Wall Street Journal. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Nope, I wasn't. Thank goodness. Prior lives, I would have been. But, luckily, my Amazon ecosystem, the CloudPod was not impacted because we run in US West 2. So, you're welcome.
Oh, come on. You don't want to try US West 1 and just pay the extra 10%?
No, I don't. I don't. It also doesn't have any of the services that we actually use to run the website. So, minor problems with US West 1.
Details.
Yeah, details. All right, well, exiting HugOps for AWS right into AWS. Let's talk about the new things that they launched that might have broken it. We'll find out. First up, apparently they did not use this tool to help prevent the outage, or maybe they did, I don't know. EC2 Capacity Manager is a new service that provides a single dashboard to monitor and manage EC2 capacity across all accounts and regions, eliminating the need to collect data from multiple AWS services like cost and usage reports, CloudWatch, and EC2 APIs, and is available to you at no additional cost in all commercial regions. The service aggregates capacity data with hourly refresh rates for on-demand instances, spot instances, and capacity reservations, displaying utilization metrics by vCPU, instance count, or estimated cost based on published on-demand rates. Key features include automated identification of underutilized capacity reservations with specific utilization percentages by instance type and availability zone, plus direct modification capabilities for ODCRs within the same account. Data exports to S3 extend analytics beyond the 90-day console retention period, enabling long-term capacity trend analysis and integration with existing BI tools or custom reporting systems. And organizations can enable this for cross-account visibility through, of course, AWS organizations, helping identify observation opportunities like redistributing reservations between development accounts showing 30% utilization and production accounts exceeding the 95% utilization, for example.
Yeah, I mean, hooray! These types of features where they're sort of trying to catch up from the separation between accounts and how companies have adopted, a multi-account strategy for a number of reasons, and it made stuff like capacity management really difficult. And it's kind of, like these little islands of data, and it's been a challenge to get it all sort of parsed in one place and where you can derive actual metrics out of it. So this is kind of nice to have it built in and just have it sort of be plug and play. Just turn it on, especially when it's at no cost. I love it.
No cost with exports, and which is pretty nice too. And day one features for organizations, I feel like is like you said, the big one, because I know I've written several scripts for myself that go cross accounts or in Azure cross subscription and kind of pull that same data too.
Yeah.
Next up, EKS Auto Mode now supports EC2 on-demand capacity reservations and capacity blocks for ML, allowing customers to target pre-purchase capacity for your AI and ML workloads, requiring guaranteed access to specialized instances like the P5s. It addresses the challenge of GPU availability for training jobs without over-provisioning your infrastructure. There's new networking capabilities included, separate pod subnets for isolating infrastructure and application traffic, exclusive public IP control for enterprise security compliance, and forward proxy support with custom certificate bundles. These features enable integration with existing enterprise network architectures without complex CNI customizations. Thank you. Complete AWS KMS encryption now covers both ephemeral storage and root volumes using customer-managed keys, addressing security audit findings that previously flagged unencrypted storage. Performance improvements include multi-threaded node filtering and intelligent capacity management that can automatically relax instance diversity constraints during capacity usage. EKS Auto Mode is available for new clusters or can be enabled on existing clusters running Kubernetes 1.29 plus. Migration guides available for teams moving from managed node groups, Carpenter or Fargate. Pricing follows standard EKS pricing at 10 cents per cluster per hour plus the EC2 instance cost. So nice to see those new features coming to EKS Auto Mode this week.
Yeah. I mean, this just highlights how terrible it was before. Like managing your own, compute layer, custom certificate bundles. Like it's been a while since, I've had to do plumbing at that layer, especially for, EKS, which is supposed to be a managed Kubernetes platform. So this is rough. So I'm glad they fixed this. I'm sure customers were clamoring for this. Torches and pitchforks, I imagine.
There's definitely times that, I'm like, are people going to know how all these things work under the hood when you have to go debug something that's gone wrong? So I always kind of wonder that as we build these higher and higher level services, do people forget that? But it cleans up the toil and how to, solve the larger scale problems too.
I mean, if I never had to learn how to create a custom certificate bundle and distribute it to a wide fleet of compute nodes, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, really.
No problems whatsoever.
I mean, it also goes back to I was talking to somebody earlier today because I was generating an SSL cert because Azure doesn't have an SSL for app gateways because I have to get at least one dig in the app gateways per podcast. And
above your quota.
I was talking to them about how I was like, oh yeah, remember when you said upload it to IAM and then attach your SSL cert, and now you just have ACM. So I guess you're right. It doesn't really matter if you don't ever have to deal with it.
There's always going to be new problems. It's the way I look at it. So I don't want to keep fixing the old ones.
I mean, I'd rather have those new problems. Or, what you could do, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
You could use platform as a service.
Yes, I could. This is platform as a service, which is the rough part.
I mean, sort of. It's still Kubernetes. You're still defining pods.
It's still Kubernetes, yeah.
You're still defining pods and services, so.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Amazon EC2 now supports optimizing your CPU for license included instances. This allows your customers reduce vCPU counts and disable hyperthreading on Windows Server and SQL Server license included instances, enabling up to 50% savings on vCPU-based licensing costs while maintaining full memory and IOPS performance. This feature targets database workloads that need high memory and IOPS but fewer vCPUs. For example, an R7i 8x large instance can be reduced from 32 to 16 vCPUs while keeping its 256 gigs of memory and 40,000 IOPS. The CPU optimization extends EC2's existing optimized CPUs feature to license included instances, addressing a common pain point where customers overpay for Microsoft licensing due to fixed vCPU counts. Available to you now in all commercial regions and GovCloud regions, no additional charges. So this is a little weird to me because I thought this already existed.
It's because they're announcing it wrong. Like, this is custom shapes. It's just they're not calling it custom shapes. Right. So you used to have to, basically, I know you might be paying for it. I don't know if you're paying for the entire R7iX large and all the compute that goes along with it, or do you actually get some sort of price change when you reduce the vCPUs running on it? I don't know. But it's been a challenge because you could always do it at the Windows OS layer, but I don't know if you could do it at the sort of console.
You can turn off hyperthreading at the Windows OS layer. I thought that was like a BIOS level.
No, but you can in the Microsoft SQL Server, for instance, you can configure the CPUs that it runs on, so that you're not paying for all of them, but they'd still be accessible by the host OS.
And then just go back to Justin's comment. Just use a managed service. Go use RDS. I understand there are many issues with RDS and Microsoft SQL, but just use RDS. I think we have a new theme of the show. We probably should have made a show title around. Select your managed service.
Yeah. I mean, it won't be any surprise to our listeners that we're a big fan of managed service and not doing any real work.
Speaking of managed services, let's talk about patching in managed services.
Too soon for me. This is my day job right now.
I know. AWS Systems Manager Patch Manager now includes an available security update state that identifies Windows security patches available but not yet approved by patch baseline rules, helping prevent accidental exposure from delayed patch approvals. This feature addresses a specific operational risk where administrators using approval delay with extended timeframes could unknowingly leave systems vulnerable with instances marked as non-compliant by default when security updates are pending. Available from across all AWS Systems Manager regions with no additional charges beyond standard pricing, the feature integrates directly into existing patch baseline configurations. This makes sense because if you are doing delayed, you still maybe want your security patches sooner and you don't want them to be out of compliance for security reasons. So that's nice quality of life improvement.
Well, I mean, it sounds like just a quality of life improvement, but it's something that should be so basic, but isn't there, right? Which is like Windows patch management is cobbled together and not really managed well. And so like you could have a patch available, but the only way to find out that it was available previous to this was to actually go ahead and patch it and then see if it did something. And so now at least you have signal on that. You can, apply your patches in a way that's not going to take down your entire service if a patch goes wrong. So this is very nice. I think for people using the Systems Manager patch management, we're going to be very happy with this. Still really angry at Windows patching in general, because that's just the state of life. But do you like that?
Yeah, Windows patching is... If you can get it wrangled and you spend the time to build a good process around it, it becomes easier, but it's never easy because, it's perpetually having to deal with new changes. Between Patch Tuesday, the one-off updates that they do out there, everything else, it's just a pain in the butt.
And you have to manage so much. Like you have to manage infrastructure in order to build a good patch management system with Windows. Like you can't trying to do it just all with public sources and doing all those things. There are patches that I know are applicable to the OS that are just not available to me unless I stand up a Windows Update service and manage that for the end of time.
I thought they deprecated WSUS.
I thought they did too. I think they keep saying that, but yet it's the only thing that works still.
Yeah, it is. Here's an R.
Yeah.
No.
And it doesn't have API support, and it never will because they've deprecated it.
Windows WSUS will no longer be developed starting in Windows Server 2025. Encourages businesses to adopt cloud-based solutions, client-server updates, such as Windows Auto Patch, Intune, and Azure Update Manager, which don't get me started on Azure Update Manager.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. And like the patches that I'm referring to specifically are they're not random or it's to the Edge browser. Like it's not crazy. And it's just could not patch the Edge browsers using public sources, had to point at a WSUS server. Like it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that I would have thought this would got better. It just hasn't. And I'm kind of shocked about it still.
I know. Like I remember asking you, how could it possibly work like this a decade ago? And it still works like this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've heard my rants about AD. So anyways.
There are a lot of cloud cost management tools out there, but only Archera provides cloud commitment insurance. It sounds fancy, but it's really simple. Archera gives you the cost savings of a 1 or 3 year AWS savings plan with a commitment as short as 30 days. If you don't use all the cloud resources you've committed to, they will literally put the money back in your bank account to cover the difference. Other cost management tools may say they offer commitment insurance, but remember to ask, Will you actually give me my money back? Archera will. Click the link in the show notes to check them out on the AWS Marketplace.
Well, Amazon's giving us a new queue coordinator. So Amazon is introducing CLI Agent Orchestrator, or CAO for short, an open source framework that enables multiple AI-powered CLI tools like Amazon Q CLI and or Claude Code to work together as specialized agents under a supervisor agent, addressing limitations of single agent approach for complex enterprise development projects. CAO uses hierarchical orchestration with tmux session isolation and model context protocol servers to coordinate specialized agents, for example, orchestrating architecture, security, performance, and test agents simultaneously during mainframe modernization projects. The framework supports 3 orchestration patterns: handoff for synchronous transfers, assign for parallel execution, or send message for direct communication, plus scheduled runs like cron-like automation with all processing occurring locally for security and privacy. It currently supports Amazon Q Developer CLI and Cloud Code with planned expansion to OpenAI Codex, Gemini, Qwen, and Aiden. No pricing has been mentioned as is open source, available at the github.com/AWS Labs CLI Agent Orchestrator. Which, I mean, this is great, except for probably mostly works well with Q, and the other ones probably not so much. But I do appreciate that there's something, one more tool in the agent orchestration world.
I mean, I wonder, because that if you're interfacing with the CLI, they're all kind of the same thing, but at that level, like there's a kind of common element there. But I also wonder, like, this seems like a lot of configuration and a lot of management of the configuration to make work. And I'm not sure that it would be worth it just to be able to use different tools. As much as I like being able to select different models for different tasks, it seems a little heavy.
I mean, this is how you get those, cron job security patches or, coding fixes, fix all my bugs. Use an agent orchestrator like this.
If I wanted to run it off of my desktop, sure.
Why not?
But I'm not going to do that.
Come on, what fun are you?
I'm not a guy who's going to have critical production, processes running on my desk or a computer that's running in my desk.
I mean, you're writing code on your desk that you push to production, so technically you have production things on your thing.
Well, I have production code, but the functionality is pushed to the cloud.
Amazon ECS is now publishing AWS CloudTrail data events for insight into API activities. Basically, this allows you to see ECS agent API activities, enabling detailed monitoring of container instance operations, including polling, telemetry sessions, and managed instance logging. Security operations teams gain comprehensive audit trails to detect unusual access patterns, troubleshoot agent communication issues, and understand how container instance roles are utilized for compliance requirements. The feature uses the new data event resource type AWS : ECS : container instance and is available for ECS on EC2 and all AWS regions, with ECS managed instance support in selected regions. Standard CloudTrail data event charges apply, and there is a previous visibility gap in ECS operations as teams can now track agent level activities. I mean, I get that this wasn't tracked before, and that's bad, and security wants to know all the things that are happening, but what's the use case, Brian, as our security guy?
I mean, I know when I was managing ECS, like at the hardware layer, like running on, dedicated compute, this is definitely something that, like captured in the ECS logs and pushed upstream so that I could so larger orchestration engines who are more aware of multiple clusters could make decisions based off of it. And so I imagine as things have moved more into like the Fargate model where you don't have that option, the need for this is a little bit more, but it also a lot of the reasons why I needed to make those larger orchestration levels is because I was managing things at a compute level and needed to make decisions on scaling and capacity management and things that are sort of part of the managed services when you're using, Fargate, although it can be more expensive. So, I mean, and this, is definitely something I would use sparingly because the ECS API is agent API is chatty. And so this seems like it would be very expensive, very fast.
Yeah, that was mainly my concern when, I was reading about this is put system log event. That feels like it's going to be very often. And seeing that millions of times, the other thing is it's just going to clog up your CloudTrail. So if you are looking to debug something, how many times is it going to appear in there for something you might not care about?
Oh, this is specific to that new managed instances. This is the thing that's in between Fargate and running your own compute. So that's why this makes sense.
Yeah.
So
But-
this is basically the same use case I had, except for when you were running managed instances, you didn't have the ability to pull from the ECS agent logs on the host itself. But you do still have to manage capacity. You do still have to manage things like this is the one that has GPUs. And so that's probably what this unlocks for a lot of people.
Makes sense. I mean, I get it. It's definitely.
No, I've worked very hard to avoid needing this. And so
Yeah, I know.
there are people that need this, and I'm sorry.
Maybe you should find another job if you need this. All right, let's move on to Google Cloud this week. They've got several things for us. G4 VMs powered by NVIDIA RTX 6000 Blackwell GPUs are now generally available. They offer up to 9x throughput improvement over the G2 instances and support workloads from AI inference to digital twin simulations with configurations of 1, 2, 4, or 8 GPUs. The G4 VMs feature enhanced PCIe-based peer-to-peer data paths that deliver up to 168 throughput gains and 41% lower latency for multi-GPU workloads, addressing the bottleneck issues common in serving large generative AI models that exceed single GPU memory limits. Each GPU provides 96 gig of GDDR7 memory, up to 768 gigabytes total, native FP4 precision support, and multi-instance GPU capabilities that allows partitioning into 4 isolated instances, enabling efficient serving of models from under 30 billion to over 100 billion parameters. NVIDIA Omniverse and Isaac Sim are now available on Google Cloud Marketplace as turnkey solutions for G4 VMs, enabling immediate deployment of industrial, digital twin, and robotics simulation applications with full integration across GKE, Vertex AI, Dataproc, and Cloud Run. These are available immediately with broader regional availability than previous GPU offerings. Though specific price details were not provided in this particular announcement, I can tell you the answer is expensive.
Definitely expensive.
All I heard was GPUs, and I'm like, yep, that's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still very far away from understanding these larger workloads because I don't do the type of development where I need to. Definitely, I'm more on the other side where I'm trying to how would I finally get AI on a very tiny little computer where very much on the edge so that I don't have to write complex mapping rules.
Indeed.
Mhm.
For those of you who use Dataproc, Google is giving you Dataproc 2.3, which chooses a lightweight, FedRAMP high-compliant image that contains only essential Spark and Hadoop components, reducing the CVE exposure and meeting strict security requirements for organizations handling sensitive data. Optional components like Flink, HiveWeb, HCAT, and Ranger are now deployed on demand during cluster creation rather than prepackaged, keeping clusters lean by default while maintaining full functionality when needed. Custom images allow pre-installation of required components to reduce cluster provisioning time while maintaining the security benefits of the lightweight base image. Image supports multiple operating systems, including Debian 12, Ubuntu 22, and Rocky 9. Deployment is simple as specifying version 2.3 when creating clusters via the G-Cloud CLI. Google employs an automated CVE scanning and patching combined with manual intervention for complex vulnerabilities to maintain compliance standards and your security posture. So it's Alpine for Dataproc, and when you need to use any of the tools you actually need, they won't be installed, like Vim, making you install them. And then your container that was lean is now no longer lean. So nice.
But on the contrary, FedRAMP has such tight SLAs for vulnerability management that you don't have to, carry this risk or request an exception because of, Google not patching Flink as fast as you would like them to. So
yep.
At least puts the control where at the end user where they can say, well, I'm not going to use that.
BigQuery Studio is getting a new interface, introducing an expanded Explorer view that allows users to filter resources by projects and type with a dedicated search function that spans across all BigQuery resources within an organization, addressing the common pain point of navigating through large-scale data projects. The reference panel provides context-aware information about tables and schemas directly within the code editor, eliminating the need to switch between tabs or run exploratory queries to check column names or data types, which is particularly useful for data analysts writing complex SQL queries. Google has streamlined the workspace by moving job history to a dedicated tab accessible from the Explorer pane and removing the bottom panel clutter, also allowing users to control tab behavior with double-click functionality to prevent unwanted tab replacements. The update includes code generation capabilities where clicking on table elements in the reference panel automatically inserts query snippets or field names into the editor, reducing manual typing errors and speeding up query development workflows and driving all of us crazy when we have to troubleshoot and we go, what did you do? And they go, I clicked the button.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
SQL-like syntax. And I don't know either one, the like or the SQL. I mean, some of these things, the reducing and clutter and stuff is definitely something that I've run into, like having a bunch of job executions and not being able to sort of see your query and the job executions because the screen's too small. It sucks. This is definitely something I've run into. Although I'm a little nervous about having all the BigQuery resources across an organization available in a single console, just because it sounds like permissions nightmare. And GCP permissions, since it's evaluating things like tables and data sets sort of on demand, evaluating the policy on demand, like it typically shows you everything and then just gives you an error. So it's a little rough. I'm a little nervous about this.
I mean,
we'll see.
I suspect that our data analyst friends will love it. I have tried to use this interface a couple times, and I find it overwhelming initially. And so if I can make it, if this is a step towards making it more approachable for people who are not as experienced yet, that would be helpful too. So we'll see. But I also worry about it's just AI all the way down. And what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, this definitely makes a lot of Gemini query building things a lot easier, and then also easy to share them across GCP project.
Well, finally, you can manage all of your prompts in Vertex AI SDK, enabling developers to create, version, and manage prompts programmatically through Python code rather than tracking them in spreadsheets or text files. The feature provides seamless integration between Vertex AI Studio visual interface for prompt design and the SDK for programmatic management, with prompts stored as centralized resources within Google Cloud Projects for team collaborations. Enterprise security features include CMEC, or customer manager encryption keys, and VPC service controls, addressing your compliance requirements for organizations handling sensitive data in their AI applications. I mean, if your prompt has sensitive data in it, I have questions already.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like PII in your prompt? Come on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, hey, can you see if this social security number exists in any of my data, please? Like, can you do that? Yeah.
No.
Beautiful. All right. Well, that's nice, I guess.
I mean, it just shows that everyone's having the same sort of problem. Like, I know that this has recently become my life, which is trying to figure out, in different AI workloads, like I'm copy and pasting prompts from different things rather than typing it new every time. And it's like patterns are starting to become a little ingrained and people are having their sort of workflows. And if there's not a tool like this, you end up figuring a way out, and that can be a document or, a spreadsheet or whatever. So this is kind of nice to bring sort of structure to that. And then, the fact that it's SDK with Python management makes me real happy because I don't have to click through some UI somewhere to figure out where my prompt is.
It's not in Go for you, so that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if it's in Go. That's fine.
But you like it better when it's in Python, so I get it.
It's easier to read and understand. Sure.
Only because you know it.
Only because I know.
Def.
Well, if you were excited about Claude Code Web earlier and being able to do things remotely, or if you're excited about GitHub Copilot, GitHub Enterprise is now supporting Gemini Code Assist as well, now bringing your AI-powered code reviews to enterprise customers using GitHub Enterprise Cloud and on-premises GitHub Enterprise Server. This addresses the bottleneck where 60.2% of organizations take over a day for code changes to reach production due to manual review processes. The services provides organizational level controls, including centralized custom style guides and org-wide configuration settings, allowing platform teams to enforce coding standards automatically across all repositories. Individual teams can still customize repo level settings while maintaining organizational baselines. This is all built under the Google Cloud Terms of Service. The enterprise version ensures code prompts and model responses are stateless and not stored, with Google committing not to use customer data for model training without your permission. This addresses enterprise security and compliance requirements for AI-assisted development, and it's currently in public preview with access to the Google Cloud Console. Service includes a higher pull request quota than the individual developer tier, and Google is developing additional features, including agentic loop capabilities for automated issue resolution and bug fixing.
I'm sort of fascinated on how much, hooks this is into GitHub, because a lot of these features are directly competitive with Copilot.
But if you're a Google shop and you've already have your Gemini as your approved tool.
Oh, I mean, I get it.
I mean, that's what they're targeting and hoping that it's going to kind of let people that are a Gemini shop completely take over and still let you leverage GitHub, because does Google have an alternative Git repository?
They do have their own source repository service.
Was it as good as Code Commit?
I don't know. I wouldn't dare use it. Are you kidding me?
Is it as good as Azure DevOps?
I mean, they like like Amazon, they have this sort of similar sort of context of like, well, they have cloud build, right? So they don't have a CI/CD pipeline built. They have a separate repository and they integrate together if you want to go and plug it all. Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of the ability to sort of do organizational wide things is super powerful for these tools. And I'm just sort of surprised that, GitHub allows that. It seems like they would have to develop API hooks and externalize that.
They do these all through the marketplace, right? So, I mean, they have the webhooks, they have the APIs already, they exist. And so you're just plugging into that ecosystem they've already built for other tools to leverage. Now, do they eventually get hostile towards other AIs other than GitHub Copilot? They could, but I think it's kind of anti what Microsoft has been trying to preach for the last several years. So, I mean, right now they're good citizens, but that may change in the future. We'll see.
I forgot about the marketplace interaction. You're right. That does makes it a little bit more approachable. This wasn't like requiring custom development to enable, just what I was thinking.
No.
GitHub has a marketplace? I don't remember that.
Yes.
Just haven't used to. I'll have to look into that more.
It's the preferred way you do integrations with third parties tools. Like if you want to integrate Snyk into GitHub, you typically do it through a marketplace plugin, for example, versus doing API keys for individual users, things like that.
Got it. We're more of a Bitbucket shop, so I'd have to deal with
that's unfortunate for you. I mean, I assume
fun
Bitbucket
life problems.
I assume Bitbucket will eventually get AI. I mean, Jira and Confluence have it now. Why can't Bitbucket?
Yeah, I think they definitely have. I've gotten some more notifications for it, but they are behind the 8 ball, in my opinion.
Well, and it's Atlassian, they'll charge you through the nose.
Yeah, they're going to charge you through the nose for it. Number two, you probably had to upgrade your Bitbucket, which you probably haven't upgraded since you installed it.
Do they not have a SaaS version?
No, it is the SaaS version.
They do have a SaaS version, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I still think Bitbucket is their redhead stepchild that they just kind of tag along. There's like, a keep the lights on team, and that's about it. But they have released some small features that
they sell it to the people who, refuse to use GitHub for some reason because they hate Microsoft. It's a brilliant strategy.
It's significantly cheaper also.
Yep. Yes. All right. Vertex AI context caching is reducing your cost by 90% for repeated content in Gemini models by storing pre-computed tokens. Implicit caching happens automatically, while explicit caching gives developers controls over what content to cache for predictable savings. The feature supports caching up to 2,048 tokens up to Gemini 2.5 Pro's 1 million token context window across all modalities: text, PDF, image, audio, and video, with global and regional endpoint support. Key use cases include document processing for financial analysis, customer support chatbots with detailed system instructions, code-based QA for development teams, and enterprise knowledge-based queries. Implicit caching is enabled by default with no code changes required and clears within 24 hours, while explicit caching charges standard input token rates for initial caching, then a 90% discount on reuse, plus hourly storage fees based on the TTL itself. Integrated with provision throughput ensures production workloads benefit from caching, and explicit cache supports customer managed encryption keys for additional security and compliance.
I mean, this is awesome. Like, this is, if you have a workload where you're going to have very similar queries or prompts and have it return similar data, like, this is definitely nice rather than having to regenerate that every time. So they've been moving more and more towards this, and I like to see it sort of more at a platform level now, whereas you could sort of implement this like in a weird way using directly in a model, like in a notebook or something. This is more, it sort of just, I think it's a turn it on and it works.
Is it, I still wonder, is it, I mean, it sounds like it's in line, which is always good. So it kind of will handle, like you said, but eventually is there going to be, if you are leveraging AI for any PII or anything else like that, you have to be careful with some of these tools, because I'm just thinking it's like Redis or anything else with SQL back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the same problem that you're going to have with like Redis, where it's like, oh, we've got a bad thing in the cache, we got to clear the whole thing, right? Or it could be just a prompt that's returning bad information. It doesn't necessarily have to be PII, it's just less than desired, and you have to go clear it all out.
I'm on PII hell at work, so that's where my brain is.
Gotcha.
And then our final Google announcement for today, Cloud Armor is introducing several new features for you, and it was named a strong performer in the Forrester Wave. The new features launched include hierarchical security policies now in general availability that enable WAF and DDoS protection at the organization, folder, and project level, allowing centralized security management across large GCP deployments with consistent policy enforcement. A new enhanced WAF inspection capabilities in preview, expanding request body inspection from 8 kilobytes to 64 kilobytes for all pre-configured rules, improving detection of malicious content hidden in larger payloads while maintaining performance. The GA4 network fingerprinting support is now generally available, providing advanced SSL TLS client identification beyond JA3, offering deep behavioral insights for threat hunting and distinguishing legitimate traffic from malicious actors. The organizational scoped address groups are now generally available, enabling IP range list management across multiple security policies and products like Cloud Next Gen Firewall, reducing configuration complexity and duplicative rules. And Cloud Armor now protects media CDN with network threat intelligence and ASN blocking capabilities in general availability, defending media assets at the network edge against known malicious IPs and traffic patterns.
These are some pretty advanced features for, like a cloud platform provided WAF. It's pretty cool. I find myself using this more and more at the day job just because it's easy to implement and then pretty configurable once you have it enabled through, definition of policies and rules. I haven't run into the 8 kilobit sort of inspection limit yet, but that's because the rules are kind of expensive and I am turning them on very cautiously. So it's kind of, you got to be careful there. But yeah, no, I look forward to using this and getting the better information when looking at the ginormous amount of logs that any WAF generates.
I mean, a lot of the other features from an organizational perspective sound really nice too. That feel like something that Ryan should be implementing at his day job if he's not. But like IP addresses and stuff like that sound phenomenal for a security team that is managing a multi-project strategy.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and there's been ways to do this, but not good ways. Like it's like having a giant, basically shared WAF layer you have a core platform team. They're responsible for it now. They have to offer WAF to the rest of the company. And so this is nice because you can now delegate some of that while still maintaining that, regions or, traffic from an embargoed country just never gets in and not having to work with 27 different teams to get that enabled.
Agreed. Moving on to Azure for this week. General availability, the observed capacity metric in Azure Firewall. Azure Firewall's new observed capacity metric provides real-time visibility into capacity unit utilization, helping administrators track actual scaling behavior versus provision capacity for better resource optimization and cost management. And you might want to combine that with the next announcement, which is that they're now allowing firewall pre-scaling, which allows administrators to reserve capacity units in advance for predictable traffic spikes like holiday shopping seasons or product launches, eliminating the lag time typically associated with auto-scaling your firewall resources. So now you can see the observed capacity, so you can actually determine what that pre-scaling need is actually required. So to combine these two announcements this week are actually pretty good.
Yeah, if it was 10 years ago.
I mean, that's just a core problem with Azure, though, is that there's still the concept of servers under the hood. You tell them how many servers you want of everything, and it blows my mind that that's still the world you're in versus saying, I want a load balance or I want a firewall. I want a NAT gateway. I think NAT gateways actually might be managed for you. I'd have to double check. But you still say, I want X capacity, where, with AWS and the little bit I've done with GCP, more that's obfuscated from you. I guess with AWS, you have to like pre-warm the load balancer or stuff like that. But I think a lot of that's...
Which is probably still in there. I just haven't touched it in I don't know how long because it's just not needed anymore because I'm not the size of Amazon.
Yeah, I think the last time I think I read they don't recommend it, and at that point you probably are on, you have a TAM, they know you're launching a big thing, and they would, I'm sure, reach out. So you're at that massive level either way. But like everything with Azure feels like you are literally telling them the metrics, the size, and it's just in my head, it's an anti-cloud pattern because I don't want to manage capacity. This is why I'm paying a premium for you to do it for me.
Yeah. It's, I guess it's part of the management, right? You're not maintaining the underlying infrastructure in terms of patching and updating but it's also like the having to do capacity management just sort of is that last little bit where you're like, I don't want to do this last little bit. Like, just take it away. Just bill me.
It's like on Soccer ISO. I don't remember. I was doing one of those things and they're like, tell me how you capacity plan. I was like, I have my quotas and I have scale sets that scale up and down for me. And I have alerts set up when things fail. Like, I leverage automation to do it for me, and explain that to an auditor is always a fun time.
What can go wrong?
Yeah.
In public preview this week, environmental sustainability features are now available to you and the Azure API management plane. Azure API management introduces carbon-aware capabilities that allow organizations to route API traffic and adjust policy behavior based on the carbon intensity data, helping reduce the environmental impact of API infrastructure operations. The feature enables developers to implement sustainability-focused policies such as throttling non-critical API calls during high carbon intensity periods or routing traffic to regions with cleaner energy grids. This aligns with Microsoft's broader carbon negative commitment by 2030 and provides enterprises with tools to measure and reduce the carbon footprint of their digital services at the API layer. Target customers include organizations with ESG commitments and sustainability reporting requirements who need granular control over their cloud infrastructure's environmental impact. And in general, I think this is weird. Like, I'm going to use some type of API thing to determine that if I use this compute in this region that's on coal power right now, it would be less energy efficient than if I use this other one that's using, maybe hydropower. Is that kind of the gist of this?
So APIMs are, one, stupidly expensive. If you have to be on the Premier tier, it's like $2,700 a month. And then if you want HA, you have to have 2 of them. So like whatever they're doing under the hood is stupidly expensive. If you ever had to deal with the SharePoint, they definitely use them because I've hit the same error codes as we provide to customers. On the second side, when you do scale them, you can scale them to be multi-region APIMs in the paired region concept. So in theory, what you can do based on this is route in the UK, if UK north or what is it, central versus south, has a cheaper or more environmentally efficient one, you can route to your paired region and then have the traffic coming that way. The reason why I think that this is interesting is, one, I keep stating that green is going to be on the forefront of one of these keynotes at one point, and I'm just going to keep putting that out there until I give up on our prediction show. But on the flip side, I think it's interesting that, especially in Europe, this is such a big deal that the cloud vendors, aka Azure, is building stuff and targeting these ESG things. And I'm seeing it more in my day job when customers buy our SaaS product. Is they'll ask what the green capacity is, or green metric, whatever it is, for our product, and how many CO2, tons of CO2 we're releasing in tier 1, 2, and 3. So I think it's interesting that Azure is trying to take it on and put the power in the hands of their customers to maybe say, this isn't the best thing to do, versus Azure just taking care of it for you, and letting the customer say, it's okay to slow down this. We don't care right now about it. We don't care about our customers' response time right now because our green capacity is more important.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about balancing the books with carbon offsets, right? Like, it's both from a Microsoft perspective and then also like an Azure customer perspective. They're trying to have a policy where they can say, like, this is how we're managing our carbon sort of footprint, and here's the things we're doing to reduce it, and just trying to balance that with the things that are generating or increasing the carbon footprint. So it seems like a lot right now, I think, because we're sort of early, weirdly. But I imagine if this becomes one of those things, like just like routing for latency, it becomes really standard for all of our tools where we're taking into account the carbon impact.
I mean, I definitely think that it's a very specific company they're targeting for this. Most people don't care.
It's definitely a company of scale, right? Yeah. Companies of scale at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're also talking about, like, you're already using the APIM, which is a ridiculously expensive service. So, you're clearly burning tons of capital on Azure too.
All right. Next up is Azure Storage Discovery is now generally available as a fully managed service that provides enterprise-wide visibility into data estates across Azure Blob Storage and Data Lake Storage, helping organizations optimize costs, ensure security compliance, and improve operational efficiency across multiple subscriptions and regions. The service integrates Microsoft Copilot in Azure to enable natural language queries for storage insights, allowing non-technical users to ask questions like, show me storage accounts with default access tiers hot above 1 terabyte, with least transactions. Really? A non-technical user asked that question and receives actual visualizations without coding skills. Key capabilities include 18-month data retention for trend analysis, insights across capacity, generate activity, security configurations, and errors of deployment taking less than 24 hours for initial insights from 15 days of historical data. Pricing includes a free tier with basic capacity and configuration insights retained for 15 days, while standard plan adds advanced activity, error, and security insights with 18-month retention. Specific pricing varies by region. Target use cases include identifying cost optimization opportunities through access tier analysis, ensuring security best practices, and managing data redundancy requirements across global storage estates.
We talked a little bit about this when it was announced in preview, but I remember, I don't have a lot of Azure experience, but just when Focus Data came out with her FinOps report and the structure, just generating a new report, I had to set up a storage infrastructure. And then once I set it up, got the report running and updating every month, I could never find that storage bucket ever again. It was gone. It wasn't gone because it was still being accessed, but I could never find it in the console. So when I was asked to change it, and I would go through and I would try to change my permission scopes and try to do all the things to try to find it, but it was just invisible to me. And so I think that this is one of those things where hopefully it doesn't have the same limitations and you'll be able to actually see your entire storage footprint versus whatever permissions you have in the specific subscription based off of your billing scope at the time, which is for a non-everyday Azure user is too much to keep tasks.
Well, that's why you natural language query it, because obviously you're caring about that as a FinOps person. You can definitely care about what your redundancy level is for each of your storage, and the FinOps person should totally be making that decision.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was looking for this report, I had a lot of natural language and I was shouting it at my computer.
So I've actually leveraged it. I mean, it was free for a couple months. We set it up at my day job. We were kind of poking around it. It's good if if you're a large company with multiple different teams kind of setting it up and figuring out your centralized team doesn't know all the different storage accounts. It definitely shed a few interesting insights on us that, for my team, that we definitely probably should have known to start off, but learned a lot along the way. But it's a simple report. There's been multiple press releases about it. It just shows you what's there. It's no different than kind of the network security report that they released a few weeks ago. It's an aggregate view for your organization about what you have running if you don't know. So they're really targeting the larger scale enterprises. If you're a small enterprise and you kind of know these things, it's no big deal.
No big deal, he says. All right.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's 2 new models available for you today in Azure AI Foundry. First up is Sora 2, which is populating the entire internet with AI crap. Just terrible videos and all AI generated. It even has its own Sora app, so you can go to the Sora social media to see all of your friends with their dumb videos being on Sora 2. I'm not a big fan of this one.
Yeah.
For lots of reasons. Then Grok 4 is also available to you in Azure AI Foundry, featuring the 128K token context window, native tool use, and integrated web search capabilities in the Grok product. Pricing for that one starts at $2 million per million input tokens and $10 per million output tokens for Grok 4, with faster variants available at lower costs in the future. The Sora pricing I did not find when I wrote this out, but they're available to you in Azure AI Foundry. So I'm sure there's a billing model. I just don't know what it is.
I mean, apparently it's not expensive enough considering how much crap there is. So they should raise the prices.
I think the Sora stuff is all free right now if you're going through the app, which is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because no one has to do anything special. All right, and our final Azure story. Azure is releasing PowerShell scripts to help customers migrate from Application Gateway v1 to v2 before the April 2026 retirement deadline. I'm shocked the deadline wasn't September 25th, 2025. Addressing a critical infrastructure transition that's needed. The enhanced cloning script preserves configurations during migration, while the public IP retention script ensures customers can maintain their existing IP addresses, minimizing disruption to your production workload. Migration tooling targets enterprises running legacy Application Gateway Standard or WAF SKUs who need to upgrade to Standard v2 or WAF v2 for continued support to access newer features. Scripts automate what would otherwise be a complex manual migration process, reducing the risk of configuration errors and downtime during your transition. Customers should begin planning migrations now as the 2026 deadline approaches, with these scripts providing a standardized path forward for maintaining application delivery infrastructure. Or you know what? Instead of writing all these scripts, they could just do it for you.
There's so many issues with this.
Yeah. This removes what otherwise would be a complex manual process. I'm like, you're giving people PowerShell. It's a complex manual process.
I mean, I've noticed this a lot when they go from V1 to V2 stuff where they don't, they first just tell you it's out, because the deprecation notice for this for V1 to V2 was April 28, 2023. They announced this. So they gave people 5 years, 3 years to move over. But
Migration through attrition at that point, right?
Right. And now they're like, okay, these are the customers that are left that are using it. But like, honestly, for somebody that leverages the app gateway at my day job, like V2 is exponentially more powerful. There's definitely less in it in the worlds of the documentation, but I just love hating on app gateways also, which is why it's in here. At least I'm honest about what I hate. But also, like, the other part of this that I wanted to bring up was around the public IPs. Like, I totally understand IP addresses and people whitelisting or putting in a allowed list IP addresses. I just still don't believe that at a core principle that is something that you really need to do. Plus, if you were on a public IP address that Azure provided back then, and you have to move over here, you probably also have to move from a single zone to a multi-zone IP address, which means you need a new IP address to start off. So like, I almost wish they didn't offer this, because I want people to move to more modern stuff, and they're just leaving themselves more tech debt, to do it. So just take it on and fix the problem. Though I say this at my day job.
This feels right on brand for Microsoft. Like, you're saying all these things, and I'm just like, this is Microsoft's MO.
I know.
And if you have fintech customers, it is like pulling teeth to get them to get rid of their IP restrictions and get
Wait
them
till
to
you
move
tell
to, like,
your
URL
fintech
filtering.
customer that you are having a CDN now, and see how well that goes over with them, because they can't whitelist they allow this the IP address anymore, which is loads of fun also. Or you just tell them to put in the allow list all of Azure front door, which then they look at you like you're crazy. I'm like, well, this is what you asked for.
I do remember pointing a customer ages ago at the giant AWS JSON. I'm like, just run a thing that loads this every once in a while, and then you'll have just what you need. And then just looking at their face as they were mentally stabbing me through the eyes. They could see it.
About 2 years ago, I had this conversation.
Just 2 years ago? It seems not that long ago at all.
Yeah.
All right. And our final story for this week is Oracle. Oracle's AI Agent Studio is expanding with new marketplace LLMs and partner integrations for Fusion apps, allowing customers to build AI agents using models from Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, and others alongside Oracle's own models. I mean, do you even know what Oracle's models are called?
I was about to ask.
I forgot they had models.
Either do I. The platform enables creation of AI agents that can automate tasks across Oracle Fusion Cloud applications, including ERP, HCM, and CX, with pre-built templates and low-code development tools for the business users. Oracle is partnering with major consulting firms like Accenture, Deloitte, and Infosys to help customers implement AI agents. But this likely means significant professional services costs for most deployments. Wah, wah, wah.
That's exactly what that sounds like to me. I'm like, oh yeah, they're partnering with these giant firms that will come in with armies of engineers and build you a thing, and then hopefully document it before running away.
You have never had to deal with those people or deal with the mess that they deal with after.
Never had to come in and clean that up. Nope.
No. Definitely never clean that up as a consultant to a company. Hey, this other person hired this and they do this. And then we were brought in to clean up that mess. That was always fun.
Yeah. It's a never-ending cycle.
Never ending. All right, gentlemen, it's another fantastic week here in the cloud past us. So we'll keep an eye on Amazon. Hopefully we don't have any outages to next recording. See if we get an RCA, and we'll see you all next week here in the cloud.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
And that's all for this week in cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Archera. Be sure to click the link in our show notes to learn more about their services. While you're at it, head over to our website at thecloudpod.net, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, join our Slack community, send us your feedback, and ask any questions you might have. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.